Welcome back. We're talking with this amazing group of women, starting with Kelly LeVeque, Hannah Bronfman, who is busy Snapchatting, and Rens Kroes, about the Welltrepreneurs, people who have advanced their careers in wellness in various ways, all with different paths to get there. And so I think this is an incredible way to sort of bring the day to a culmination point, because I think many people in here may have started with a passion and figured out that, wait a minute, I could turn this into a business. Anybody? I guess nobody, right? Okay. Anybody? Yes, a lot of us, right, are here because we're passionate about something and we want to turn it into a business, right? Okay, they're asleep. Let's go. So what we're going to talk about today is some of the varying paths to get there, and how these ladies have really owned their own personal spaces, established brands that are like awesome, partnerships that they've explored, as well as incredible business ventures that we can all learn from. We're going to share our mistakes, we're going to share some of our challenges, as well as our triumphs. So get ready for a blast. I want to start first with just each of you sharing a little bit about your personal journey and kind of like how you got into the wellness space. Like, Kelly, will you start?
Sure, no problem. Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here today. It's been so awesome, right? So for me personally, I agree. It's been like amazing.
Yay, people are proud.
Such a fun day. So for me personally, I had an 8-year career in cancer and genetics, but always thought, how can I help my friends with nutrition? Or how can I make people feel better? How can I help them get rid of cystic acne? And I was that girl who dove into the research and always loved it, but never thought it could be a really big career. And what happened in 2012 was I just decided one day, with the help of a girlfriend, that I was going to go back to school and just side hustle. So I actually side hustled my business until the summer of 2015, which is surprising for a lot of people because they just think that I quit my job and started this business, but I actually worked 14 or 16-hour days to make this happen, lunches, weekends, nights, and I was always taking my paycheck from my real career and putting it into my business and investing in myself. And yeah, today I'm an author, and I have celebrity clientele, and I have the opportunity to live my passion. So I'm really, really proud of it, but it didn't happen overnight. It happened with heart, and it happened with hustle, and it was hard, and I sold my car to pay rent.
So you're walking everywhere.
So I'm really, it wasn't handed to me. It was something that I had to work really hard for, and I'm really proud of that effort.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Hannah?
So I guess, I've grown up, I'm a New York City native. I grew up with a background in dance. I went to Ailey as a young kid. And being exposed to the world of dance and professional dancers at a really young age showed me a lot about body image straight from the jump. And when you're going through puberty, and I was going to, performing arts camps where you're dancing like 12-hour days, and you're being encouraged not to eat a lot, and when you get your period, it's like, use a tampon, get to class, you're gonna be late, So I realized that that wasn't like normal, and that it was like very detrimental to the way a lot of these girls that I was around were thinking about themselves. Fast forward about 10 or 7 years after that, my grandmother passed away, and she suffered from anorexia her whole life. It was something that plagued her as a young girl and really stuck with her into her adult years, and that's how she passed away. We were very close. I was with her when she passed, and that was a turning point for me to living my healthiest and happiest version of myself. Then I was in college, and I started DJing, and I would DJ, like when I came home from school, I would DJ nightclubs, and I was on the hustle trying to make a name for myself in that circuit, and those are not optimal hours. You're DJing from like 11 to 4 a.m. and you're getting paid nothing, and I was sleeping throughout the whole day, and that was not a lifestyle that I wanted for myself. It was not sustainable. I felt burnt out, and I am an active person. I'm a morning person, and I was like, how can I get back to doing what makes me feel good? And that's when I kind of started my first business in 2012, which was a beauty app, and that kind of exposed me to the world of beauty. And then taking it one step further, when Instagram came out, I kind of just started using it as a way to showcase my healthy lifestyle, and I just found that it became a very sticky conversation. So I decided to create a destination, hbfit.com, which stands for Health, Beauty, and Fitness, for a place that we could talk about all of the things that we were obsessed with in wellness in a longer form content. And fast forward 5 years later, you know, I've been able to make a career out of all the things that I'm obsessed with. And it, you know, it's definitely been a grind, and I'm so appreciative for the platforms that I've been able to use as leverage to getting my brand out there. So, yeah.
Awesome.
Wow.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Rens.
Yeah, so for me, it's a different story. Do you guys hear me? Because,
Yeah. Hello, hello.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's all the way here, so that's why.
Keep talking.
Yeah. Well, it's hard. Maybe let's do that.
There you go.
Better? Yeah.
Can you hear?
So,
Yeah. Not really. It just goes like that.
sorry. So I'm from,
This is annoying. Maybe I just do it like that.
For now.
For now. I'm from Amsterdam. I'm from the Netherlands, and my grandfather was the first organic farmer of the north part of the Netherlands, and my mom is a nutritionist. So I grew up with healthy food, and so I became so aware of that. I thought it was really important to share that with everybody. So I worked in an obesity clinic. I started nutrition and also social work, and after that I started blogging. After blogging, I created a website and made 4 books, and now I'm living in New York City, and totally new for me, different people, and I'm starting all over again, and it's been really excited, and that's why I'm here, and I would love to share some more information on how I,
Awesome.
did it, yeah.
I want to go to you, Kelly, and because I think a lot of people in here may be transitioning or thinking about transitioning from their stable job or a job that they love or a job that they hate, and moving into the wellness space. So can you tell us about like your specific transition and how you were able to do that?
Sure. So, like I said, my job was a side hustle. For me, I just felt more comfortable knowing that I had a paycheck and a 401k. I could pay my rent for at least a few years. But what I did is I went to school at night, and then from there I saw my first 6 clients for free. Like, I gave my time away, 6 weeks to each of them, and sometimes meeting them at 5 and 6 in the morning before they were heading to work. I would work with them on what they were eating and how they were moving and how they were sleeping and their stress levels. And I loved it because I would do it for free, and I did. And I just felt alive when I was doing it. And it was really powerful for me. And you know, that continued, those long hours, those long days, that continued for 2.5 years. And I finally felt like, okay, and side note, it probably wouldn't have gone as long, but my husband was really inspired by my transition from cancer and genetics to building this side business that he wanted to quit being an attorney to write a book or a screenplay or be a writer. So I was supporting him at the same time and paying his student loans. And we both just believe in each other, and we are a team, and that's kind of how we make it work. But I finally decided that, okay, it was time, and I'd be the big girl, and I'd jump off the curb. And I just wanted to jump off a curb and not a cliff. You know, it's a little scary to just leave your job and follow your passion. But I would say every day I put hours into it, whether that was taking pictures of my food or trying to hit a new healthy restaurant and get a picture of something like that, or reading articles or studies, or listening to podcasts. I was always doing work, whether I was seeing clients or not, in my space to grow and to share. And Facebook came out when I was a senior in college, and I didn't have an Instagram hashtag at my wedding. So to be an Instagram person is a little bit uncomfortable for me. I'm the person who videos myself and then deletes it. So I'm working on it. But I would say that I finally decided, okay, I'm going to do this. We're gonna sell the car. So we sold a car and put money.
But wait, so what was that? You were walking or taking the bus, or what's happening when you're selling your car?
So basically what happened was I had figured out how to get a consulting position instead of a full-time position at my cancer job, and they gave me 3 months. And so I said, okay, this is a soft landing, because I only had to work 15 or 20 hours a week in that, and that was ending in September. So I knew I had this really soft landing, but you still aren't ready for it. I'm just gonna tell you that. Like the next 5 days, I was like crying, like so excited, and then freaking out. So that I think that's a normal response. Like, is my phone gonna ring? Like, am I gonna have clients? And I think that nervous energy and that fear puts a fire in you. And so what I did is I called a friend of mine, Ann Sage, City Sage on Instagram. She's an interior designer, and she wrote a book. And I said, can I take you to coffee? I just want to sit down with you, and I want to know how this works. Because when I went to USC, I was actually in business school. I went back to school for nutrition. I was business finance, believe it or not. And the dean of the business school taught a class there, and he said, if you want to be successful, if you want to be independently wealthy, you need to have 5 streams of income. And at this point, I had 2, right? And I left one, and then I had taken myself to no 401k, no car, and an hourly income. So I was moving backwards. So I thought to myself, well, how can I reach more people? Because there's only so many hours in the day. So I cold called a bunch of agents in New York and emailed them, and a few emails trickled back in, and I jumped on a plane and flew out here and closed my book deal in January, so only a couple months later. But that for me felt a little bit more comfortable. And I would say there's nothing wrong with leaving your job to do what you love, but to not feel the pressure that is your only income really helped me, because I didn't push people. I wasn't like, oh, you have to sign up for 16 sessions with me and it's gonna be this much money and this much time. I just said, let me earn it. I wanted to earn every single session I had with my clients. I wanted to prove to them that they could feel better, and they could have more energy, and they could love their body, and it wasn't this, they wouldn't be on yo-yo diets for the rest of their life. So yeah, I mean, it took the pressure off me to be salesy with my clients and really just continue to put my heart into it. And then when I felt like I had enough of my schedule filled with that business, I took that leap and then looked for my second income. And I'm looking for the third, and I'm looking for the fourth, because you diversify as an entrepreneur. That's what you do. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now.
Great. Hannah, let's talk about audience and building. So you were talking about how there weren't all these tools right when you started, and so many of us rely on these tools now. I mean, we're here in this space because we live half of our lives, maybe even 3/4 of our lives online, right? And so, Hannah, I want to ask you specifically, how do you come to know your audience and create content that really resonates? Like, what was that journey like for you? Because people, live through her Instagram, right? So let's talk about that.
Okay, so knowing your audience is probably the most important tool for any business in any field. And for me, knowing my audience, I'll never forget when I put up my first Instagram post, and I was like, oh, what's this thing called Instagram? And it's crazy to think how it's grown and how it's grown so quickly. And as I kind of refine and try and think about new monetization streams and products and what the journey of growth is for my company, the audience at the core is what's driving all of my findings. And you really get to know your audience by authentic engagement and authenticity and conversation. I try to comb through all the comments. I comb through so many people's profiles who feel inclined to share something positive on my page. I like to go back into their page, like their photos, comment on their stuff. I try to answer all the DMs. I try to put out questions and polls. And I have a lot of friends who work in tech, and I am privy to a lot of algorithms that I have people on the back end kind of searching through. I love analytics. That's just, I love that. So I have a few friends who have said, like, listen, if I was interested in putting something out, like, could you tell me what my audience wants me to put out? And they're like, yeah, absolutely. So through data, I'm able to kind of hone in on how old my target woman is. And I mean, my personal brand is, 20, 80, female, 80, 20 men, but then HB Fit is 98% female. So, it's the personal brand and the regular brand, and HB Fit, it's like we have completely different, strategies and content. And so I use all these analytics for both sides of things. And at the end of the day, as long as we stay true to our ethos and exactly our mission statement that we have had from day one, the authenticity and the audience will come and grow, because I think that's what people want. They don't want to follow you and then see that, you've changed. Like,
right, and they'll let you know, right?
Yeah, they will let you know. Let me tell you. So I think, being as true to yourself, and it doesn't mean that you can't change, but like you go through the process, and that's kind of the other thing that like you inherently kind of just give up when you decide to be an open person on a platform such as social media. You will change, and you just need to be authentic and transparent about those changes with your audience, because at the end of the day, like, everyone thinks that we're friends, and like they want to know what's going on with their friends. Like, they don't want to be out of the loop.
Yeah,
so
it's true.
Yeah.
Rens,
Hello.
so you're new here to the States. Like, everybody, when she's in the Netherlands, she gets stopped in the street, it's like crazy, and then here you're like figuring it out, right? Like finding new footing. You had a book come out here, your first book here, but you have 4
It was
already.
hard. Yeah, it's still hard.
So can you tell us about like what it's like so some of us, like if you move cities, or, if you're in a space where you're like very comfortable and then you have to move uproot and like start over, what's that like in terms of like business, but also like in the world of social media? I mean, I know you and Hannah have done stuff together.
Yeah, well, when I saw that Ren was coming to the city, I immediately DM'd her and I was like, let's get coffee.
Yeah.
And
I love
like,
that about
"Who
Instagram,
are you?"
social media, right? You can just
Don't
catch
worry
up and
Yeah.
hang out. Yeah. And it's also like, we all know each other now also through like social media because and then we contact each other. It's like, you want my book? Yeah, I want your book. So that's also good. It's like all that, the socializing, and I think that helps for me. But it's still hard because in Amsterdam, they are all so down to earth, and you don't have to show yourself, or they don't really like that you.
People aren't down to earth here?
I mean, they're also very down to earth. I don't know, but to me, it's like you cannot really support your book like, in the Netherlands, like, this is me, and I think because there's so much competition, I need to do that here, and I need to show who I am and what I do, and it's still a struggle, but I'm working on it, and I like it too. It's just something new.
And then you also just in the Netherlands launched a grocery concept?
Yeah.
Okay.
A grocery market. Yes.
This is an extension online of your larger business.
Yeah.
Can you share about that?
Yeah. So I also have a platform called Pow Foodies, and what I like about that one is that people share their recipes, and I regram them, and so they get also support. And I was also because people after all those books, people were like, yeah, where do you get all those products from? I can't find it. And I was thinking, I should just start a supermarket. So I'm working on it, an online supermarket. But it's really hard. But the thing is that I want to continue. I want to continue with what people are asking. So the thing is that like you said, you see what your target market is, and you're asking also other, your target market, what do you want? What do you want next? And what do you expect? And if it's in the same direction as me, then that I'm just
They put on
working on it. So I'm working for them as well, you know.
Right.
So because that's what they want, and I like to inspire people and just do with nutrition and healthy food, and
So
that's
you
what I'm
use
doing.
that as a way to develop the next line of business through all of the feedback
Yeah.
that you got. Yeah. That brings me to the next question. You know, Kelly, we had a really great conversation where you shared, and you shared a little bit before about this, like the sacrifices that you made. I want you to share the specific story because I think a lot of people, when they're just starting out, there may be just like this sense of like, you know, I think people straddle where it's like, should I do this for free or should I not do this for free, or like I'm too good to do this for free, you know, these kind of areas where they don't know like where's the value in doing certain events or conferences or things. And I know you had a very specific one that led to like a larger, you know, client profile. So can you speak to us about maybe the value in that experience and tell us a little bit about that story?
Sure. So, so I met Jessica Alba working a free event. And a lot of people think when they see some of my clients that she must have had a friend. She lives in LA, maybe she just knows someone. And actually, Honest and Target were having an influencer launch party. And I thought to myself, with, you know, 1,200 or 2,000 Instagram followers just from sharing food, I should go to this. And they asked me to sit in a little furniture vignette, and they said it'll be great for the influencers because they can come over and have like a 15-minute little wellness talk with you, and you can give them tips. I said, okay, great, I'd love to. So, you know, I lost money on the event. I spent spent money on hair and makeup. I was at the Dry Bar, and I like put my outfit on, went to the event, and I sat in my little furniture vignette, and I waited for the bloggers to come over and talk to me. And not a single one came over and sat next to me. I think they just basically thought I was sitting. It wasn't signed. There's pretty horrible signage at it. You know, and they're taking pictures with all the installations, Honest at Target, and I'm just sitting in the corner. And so the woman running the event came over and she's like, Kelly, maybe you should go stand by the buffet and just tell them about the nutrients and the food that they're eating. Like,
Just make yourself useful.
I was like, okay, perfect. You know, smile on my face, like hustle, right? So I walked over to the buffet and I'm like, all the vitamin K and these leafy greens is great for your bone health. And the girls are like, oh, are you with the caterer? Who is this, you know? And I'm like, oh my God, just like, you know, it's like knocked you down a few notches, right? So the event's kind of finishing up, and I didn't realize at the time, but Jessica was in like the press booth and the, like, you know, doing all the news interviews. And then she came out and it was like a flood. Like all the bloggers were like, can I get a picture with you? And of course, because like that's what you're there for. So they're getting pictures and I'm standing there, and Jessica Alba's makeup artist comes up to the buffet, Lauren Anderson, and I don't realize who she is because I wasn't really good at knowing who these people were at a certain point. And she came and I was telling her about what's in her food, and she's like, do you know where I can sit down? I'm like, you can come sit in my chair. No one sat here all day. And she's like, why are you here? And so I explained to her, and she was dealing with some inflammation. And I made a tip. I said, you know, like you might want to just like pull out some nightshades and see how that affects you. Because she's like, I've done gluten-free, I've done soy-free, you know, you list it, right? So she did, and then she called me and said, can I come to my house and let's do a session? So I went to her house, and then within 6 weeks, I had an email introduction to her soul sister from junior high, Jessica Alba. So for me, I worked the party for free. I lost money on the party. You know, it was a weekend. I probably missed out time with my husband and my friends. But I said yes. I went with a smile on my face. I stood up by the buffet when I had to, and I think that karma, and I think that hustle, and I think that showing up and giving it your all, whether people think you're with a caterer or a lonely blogger, it's worth it.
Sometimes you got to stand by the buffet.
Yeah. I mean, I completely resonate with this story. There have been at so many events where, I mean, I started DJing in nightclubs, right? So I was getting paid, I don't know, $100 for 4 hours, right? They're basically lost money, same thing. Like, why? And you do that, and then you like your health goes, like you just realize that that lifestyle is no longer sustainable. And for me, like I had a turning point where somehow, like I was at some charity event with a girlfriend who kind of put the whole thing together, and I met a PR person who worked at Dolce & Gabbana. And she found out that I was a DJ. And she was like, oh, well, why aren't you DJing this event? And I was like, oh, well, I don't know. They didn't ask me to, like, what, you know, I don't know. I'm here just to support. And she was like, well, would you consider DJing Fashion Night Out? And this was like back when Fashion Night Out was cool. I mean, this was like in...
When it was like happening. Actually.
Yeah, it was like probably in like 2009. Or like, yeah, 2008. So anyway, I'm like, okay, cool. Like, that sounds great. Obviously, it's Dolce & Gabbana. Like, I wasn't going to ask for money. Like, I was like, oh my God, this is like my big break. Like, they're going to put me in a dress and I'm going to be like in their store fucking DJing, sorry. And next thing you know, I'm at the event. You know, I've got my whole cheer squad, my mom, my boyfriend at the time, my best friend, the whole thing. And Justin Bieber performs. In 2009, when he was still a baby. Yeah. And I was like, oh my God, like Justin Bieber is performing this event that I'm DJing for free. Something's gotta change. So I then created a fake assistant for myself.
Yes, this is the best story that she tells.
I did not know how, because I felt so uncomfortable. I thought I was just I was just so grateful to be given the opportunity to be in a room like this that I didn't know how to speak for myself. No one knew who I was. And no one wanted to represent me. So like, what else was I gonna do? So I created a fake Gmail address. It wasn't fake actually, it was my friend's nanny. I used her name. I asked her and she was like, yeah, it's fine, whatever. I'm like, okay, so Virginia Clark Nelson, I added like an E after the Clark, whatever. Right. And I would say, you know, I would tell people that they had to email Virginia. And so Virginia would respond to inquiries. And let me tell you, inquiries actually started to like come into my inbox, and then I would like negotiate, and it would be me, and every time I would press send on an email from Virginia, my heart like sank into my stomach. Yes. And I just thought, what if I get caught or something? Like, what if they find out, like, and the jig's up, like. And then eventually, like, I started my first company with Virginia, like literally. And finally, this girl reached out to me, this girl, Ava, who was with me for 3 years. She was my assistant for 3 years, and now she's at Google. Just gonna say that. But when she reached out to me, fresh out of Wesleyan, I'll never forget, she was like, we had lunch, and she's like, okay, so.
When do I get to meet Virginia?
She goes, next steps would be for me to email Virginia, right? And I was like, yeah. And then then Ava was with me, and then I told her about Virginia. She died. She literally was like dead on the floor. It was insane. But you know, I didn't know how to use my voice yet. So I created a way that I could and felt comfortable doing it. And you know, that was like a short-lived for like 2.5 years. And now I say no all the time. Like it's like, you know. You got to get that power going.
That's right. I love that story.
It's a good one.
We were actually at another panel where you shared that, and I was going to bring that up. I'm so glad that you beat me to it. Yeah, it's so good. Just get a Virginia account, y'all, if you want to negotiate. I want to talk, well, first of all, everybody on here has books or books coming and stuff, right? But I know people in the room, some aspire to having books. Who wants to write a book? Anybody? Okay, yeah. There are people in here who want to write a book. And so can you speak about what that process was like for you? I know you said that you got your book deal, it was like that. You've written like 6, Rens? 4, 5, 6?
No. 4.
4,
yeah.
Whatever, 4, 6. Right? So maybe speak a little bit about like how you were able to do that as well as managing your business, because people think that like somehow like a book fairy shows up and the book gets written and then suddenly, right? There's like hustle involved, right?
Yeah, sure.
Like I thought I was going to a log cabin and with this advance, and then I was gonna like come out and emerge, and like the book was gonna be like this whole, I don't know.
You have to, right?
You're gonna emerge with the book.
Yeah, it was like this book, yeah, the book fairy. And I figured out, I was like, so when do I get to like go on my vacation and go write this thing? They're like, what do you mean? I was like, you know, like the thing that people go do. They're like, no, you just gotta stay home and write the book. I was like, and be with my kid and do all the other stuff and run the business? You have to do it, right? So share a little bit about your journey with that, either of you.
You know, to me, it's like, I love to be creative. So I was just like, for 6 months, home cooking and writing and that's all I did for the first time, for the first book. And then the second book as well, and the third book as well, and the fourth book, because it's worth it, because you have something in your hands that is yours, and you can share it to the world, and it's you know, it's a lot of work, but you know, it's also you can be very creative, and you can, it's yours, it's your own baby, yeah. So, but you know, it's not as easy as people think, for sure, and you know, you're not going to all the events and you know, all this kind of stuff. It's just hard work. It's worth it.
Yeah.
Sure.
Kelly?
I would say I didn't have the flexibility to stay home and write my book. I did have to see clients, right, because I had taken myself back to that hourly employee thing.
Yeah.
So for me, actually, after I sat down with Anne, she had an agent and then written a proposal and then gone out with her agent to publishing houses. So there's a couple ways you can do it, right? So you can self-publish completely. You can write a whole proposal and then send it out to agencies and or to the publisher directly. I was a little bit nervous in doing that because I wanted a little bit of help. I wanted a coach. I'm really good at homework. If someone says, hey, you have an article due on Friday, I'm like, perfect, I'll do that. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna start blogging for myself January 1st, 2018, and it's when? What is it? Is it almost February? Okay. So homework is great for me. So that's what an agent did for me, is when I emailed an agent, I got to come out to New York, sit down with them, and I verbally pitched myself. I said, hey, look, this is who I am, this is what I do, this is why I think I'm different, hopefully, and was just true to myself. And once I had an agent, then I had some direction on what they thought would sell. And not to not be true to myself at all, but just how should I put together my proposal so that I could actually sell a book. So I know that there's multiple different ways of doing it, and I think just think inside, like, think, you know, what type of person are you? I also didn't want to put, a proposal can be somewhat, you know, somewhere up to 75 or 80 pages, and I don't know, I didn't know that I had the time to do that if I was going to do it wrong and then they were just going to redline it everywhere. So just know that there are different ways of going about it. And
yeah, but you were saying that you were you didn't have time to be at home and cook. I mean, obviously I didn't have that for the first book as well, but if you have the second, you just make money from the first one, and then that's why.
But it has to sell, so you're
I'm not making money yet.
Wait, yeah, books, don't make that your only way.
Yeah,
right?
That's true.
I'm not making money yet.
Hannah.
Those pre-sales, girl.
Yeah, pre-sales, you guys. The pre-sales are key. Hannah, tell us about partnerships. Like, you know, you've said that you've been able to like figure out how to really understand the people in your audience, but also the algorithms are changing all the time. But people seem to find you, and brands, huge brands seem to find you and want to work with you. And you've designed some incredible ways to work together. So I'm sure a lot of people would love to explore brand partnerships. So what does that look like, and how has that worked for you?
Yeah, okay, so brand partnerships, and I can speak on that from like my personal brand and HB Fit, because it's completely different, and it's really, it is complicated to navigate, especially because a lot of people think that HB Fit is just, it is me, and it's not. HB Fit was like made to be a community that would be much larger than me, and although a lot of girls hopefully look like me, that's the other thing that I think why I'm appealing to brands, is that because I am multicultural and I am educated, and I believe my voice matters. So I think, you know, that in combination is appealing to some brands, and let me tell you, there are plenty of brands who that is not appealing to, and I've come in contact with all of them. And I feel really, really lucky that I've been able to work with brands who believe in the voice and kind of the messaging that I'm putting out there, which is, you know, like working with Adidas has been a dream come true, but it wasn't an easy way to get there. I was actually working with Nike at the time. They wanted me to run a 5K. I'm not a runner, and I was like, okay, well, you know what? I will try something new, because that's what I do. I try things that are new, and I want to have a real experience and share it with my community. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to put these running shoes on, and I'm going to learn how to run. So I found a guy, his name is Ocho System, Joe Holder. If you don't know who he is, he's an incredible young man, very dedicated to his craft. And he was teaching me how to run. He's also a very handsome black man who, my husband was out of town. He was like, "You're running with who? What are you doing?" But this was years ago. And so I was learning how to run, and he was teaching me, and I went out to Portland with Nike, and then, Nike wasn't paying me anything. And I was like, okay. All of a sudden, Under Armour is like, hey, we'd love for you to do this one-off post, and I still don't have representation, so I don't have anyone to really run this by or say, hey, is this a good idea or a bad idea if I'm doing this thing with Nike, but I haven't signed anything that's exclusive, they're not paying me, and Under Armour, I'm like, I need the check, so I did the Under Armour thing. Nike dropped me. Under Armour didn't come back for a second post, and I was like, damn, I just really canceled myself out, And then Adidas came and they said, F all that noise, we want you for 3 years. And we want to do a lot with you. We want to stand behind your mission. We want you to tell your brand story. And it gives me chills because I feel so grateful that they were so open-minded, especially when back then, taking a chance on talent is definitely a difficult and risky thing to do. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of people who are not professional and are not easy to work with. And so it kind of also, to have that moment, I was like, well, it was also so motivating and inspiring me to be the best that I could partner for them that I could be. And then working with brands with HB Fit, it's like, I'm out here cold calling people every day. Yesterday I just filled out a survey. I find so many brands on Instagram that I'd love to work with for HB Fit. There's one blended flour company called King Arthur's Flour, and I DM'd them and I was like, hey, we'd love to do some branded content with you guys. Here's our platform. We've got, Instagram, YouTube, and our newsletter as vehicles for promotion. Would you guys consider working with us? Boom, automated DM back, fill out our survey and let us know how we can potentially work together. So I'm like, all right. So I sat down, filled out this survey. It's you just need to cold call. I probably hit up 10 different companies every single day. So it's that is not, it's not incoming. It's definitely a hustle to get on people's radar as a company. And as a person, it doesn't necessarily translate over, you know what I mean? HB Fit doesn't have a deal with Adidas, so it is a hustle, and you do have to be, I think reputation also plays a big deal in it. If we botch some deal, which we haven't, but if we had, that will get around. And also people move companies all the time. It happens a lot even in the fashion world. I do a lot of fashion events, whether I'm DJing them or whatever, and sometimes you always want to leave a good taste in people's mouth because they will shift and change and move directions. And let me tell you, if they remembered a good experience with you and they're in a different place now, they will call you. So it's just, those are the types of things that I've encountered when it comes to partnerships.
That's amazing. I think there's a bunch of takeaways from this, but I think one, nurturing the relationships is key in the wellness space as Welltrepreneurs. Nourish the fertile soil so that your company can really thrive. Work really hard, right? And sometimes it means doing things that you might not be able to see right in the beginning works, and on the other side of it, it works out. And the other thing is, I think, if sometimes it gets uncomfortable, you come into a new city or a new space where you're unfamiliar, but you have to still find your way and navigate, but also work with people, find friends. You're in an incredible space with incredible people who have talent and value, who can be incredible resources to you. So be open, right? Mm-hmm. Cool. Thank you all so much for today. This is awesome.
Thank you.
Find them and follow them.
Thank you.
I think that's it.
Cool.
We don't want to hold y'all up for the rest
guys.
of the day. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much.